I guess I've been very uninspired lately insofar as making videos goes, but I do check out debates. I find them interesting, and I figured, what the hell? Let's do some content. So, Matt Dillahunty, uh, probably the greatest atheist debater, at least from all the prominent ones today. Uh, I'd like to be able to say that once again got pummeled in a debate, but he did the usual Matt Dillahunty thing. I don't know if it was when the breaking point for Matt Dillahunty happened, but it, I haven't followed him that much, but from what I know, he started out just debating, blue collar scholars and kids on his podcast or radio show, whatever, and just not letting them talk, or if they had something dumb to say, then he would. But if they were challenging him actually and making good arguments, and he was able to pick up on it, he would just be very disruptive and not allow them to say what it is they were going to say, or his responses, and from what I've seen anyway, heard, uh, amounted to a little more than sophistry in many instances. But he did, I think his batting average, and I wouldn't know, but just from the stuff that I've seen on his radio show, was probably 50-50, right? But then he graduated to the YouTube debating sphere, and I don't know if it was Inspiring Philosophy that first pummeled him, or Jay Dyer, but once he got to a certain level, I mean, he just kept getting pummeled left and right by Christians. And it seems to me like that was a breaking point for him, and he just turned up the sophistry to an all-time high. And these days, whenever he's at this certain level, right, talking to someone who's somewhat, or very much so, philosophically astute, he just flips over the chessboard, right, and claims victory. And this debate here with Trey, Jadlow, whatever, was no different. But, if you read the comments, it's, how Trey lost, he's an idiot, he doesn't get basic logic, and Matt wiped the floor, these types of comments. And I don't know what to call that. Mass formation psychosis that's been kind of making the rounds lately. Is that what's going on? I don't know, because it couldn't be further from the truth when it comes to what actually happened, but whatever. So I watched this debate, and they just gave their opening statements, and Trey was kind of setting the framework for how he was going to argue for God, and Matt's opening statement really seemed to miss the mark. So that's where we are, and all of this will become clear if you haven't seen the debate right now.
Okay, thank you for that opening, Matt. Your entire opening remarks were oriented toward evidentialism, and I'm not an evidentialist. But before we begin our inquiry, though, would you grant me two instrumental presuppositions for inquiry as we begin our time back and forth?
So Trey is trying to find some common ground, right, to see where they agree, and then he wants to work from there. Now, obviously, Dillahunty being an atheist, he's not just gonna, I don't think so anyway, grant Trey God, right? So before he could argue for Christianity, which is the topic of the debate, is Christianity true, right? The Christian has to first prove God before he could move on, right? So the burden of proof on the Christian, and that's fine, he decided to do this, but he has all the burden of proof here, right? And before he can even debate the topic, he has to find some common ground with Matt, find out what it is, and how he can take that to prove God, right? And then he can talk about whether or not Christianity is true, right?
Namely, the law of non-contradiction and the basic reliability of sense perception.
So he wants Matt to grant him, sounds like, logic and reason, basically, right?
So you're asking me to grant the law of non-contradiction, sure, and the base.
And I guess he needs the law of non-contradiction specifically because of the argument that he's about to bring. That's the relevant one, I guess.
Basic reliability of sense perception. I don't know how much of that I can grant.
No, just basic. I know that our senses, we.
So right off the bat, Matt is being very, very difficult, right? This is just what he does. These aren't like gotcha tough questions. This is just setting the stage, like basic reliability of sense perception, right? Which is basically what Matt's worldview is based on, right? He's some kind of an empiricist, right? Or empirical discovery, inquiry is very important to him, right? Sense perception probably takes precedence over most things, if not everything, right? For Matt. I think that's even how he tries to prove, quote unquote, prove logic and reason. But don't quote me on that. I could be wrong there.
We have no connection to the world without our senses. You agree with that?
So I was trying to explain that the word basic carries with it some baggage in philosophy. And so I wanted to make sure that what I was conceding to begin with, if you're just mean without any deep philosophical context about properly basic, that generally we are forced to rely on our senses. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody's ever given me trouble with that.
It's like pulling teeth with this guy, but that's fine, I guess.
But I got to get those at the beginning because of the groundwork. We got to have those instruments for inquiry. Okay, so as I stated in my opening comment,
we could do without all that extra stuff. I wish Trey had just concentrated on his arguments instead of all this petty bullshit.
I start with the existence of God because you've got to have a God before you have a word of God, and you therefore thereby
right. So before you could talk about Christianity, or if you were debating a Muslim, right, on whether or not Christianity is true, both the Christian and the Muslim agree that God exists, right? And their debate would be on what kind of God, right? Who is this God?
An atheist do not believe in God. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Sure.
Okay. So
so very, very basic shit, right? In order to prove Christianity, as I stated in the opening to this video or some moments ago, he has to get Matt to concede that God exists, right? But you'll see all these comments in the comment section of atheists just getting mad that they weren't debating Christianity, right? And they're getting mad at Trey when they should be getting mad at the bald pigeon on the left, right?
Something exists, say for me, and to get as simple as possible, I can do this argument even with solipsism. I could say I'm the only thing that exists or whatever. But let's just say if something exists, me, the inquirer, okay? There are only four possibilities. Either all that exists is an illusion, or it is self-created, or it is self-existent, or it is created by something that is self-existent.
So it sounds like he's going to use some kind of reductio, if that's the right word, eliminate various possibilities, and somehow, I don't know how this argument works, I've never heard it before, and he didn't get to present it here because the pigeon once again flipped over the chessboard and claimed victory. But it sounds like we have a variety, 4 different possibilities, 4 different kinds of beings, I guess you would say, categories of being, and that's somehow going to lead to the necessary, the primary, the creator being, right?
Now we know that the first one is false because it says everything is an illusion. You're familiar with Descartes' cogito. Sure, go ahead, man.
Very. I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is the only thing.
I think, therefore, I am, right?
And I'm not trying to trash you by saying this, but this was the only thing that was close to substantive in the debate. Everything else was preamble. So when you say,
right,
and now you've said it twice.
Right, the opening statement is preamble, right? Shouldn't it be?
You said if something exists, it's either an illusion, self-created, self-existent, or created by something that is self-existent. Those are the only four options. Okay.
So Matt is reading from his screen. He has heard Trey debate before. He knows what the argument is, right?
Yes. Yes.
I exist. Which of those is true for me? Am I an illusion? Am I an illusion?
Well, that's what we're going through. We're if you don't mind, we'll go through each one of those and suss them out between us. Is that okay?
I guess, but it seems to be a big waste of time because if I...
Right, Matt doesn't want to... He doesn't have a defeater for this argument. I don't even know what the argument is, right? And I'm not even saying it's a good argument because I don't know what it is. But Matt seems to not want to engage in the argument because he can't defeat it, right? So he's... Right off the bat, he's saying, right, your argument is a waste of time. Well, how do you know what his argument is, right?
So first of all, I exist. So if something exists, and I'll be the something, I'm not an illusion. I'm not self-created. I'm not self-existent. And there's no evidence that I was created by something that is self-existent.
How would he know there's no evidence, right, for that? You're making an affirmative statement that you can't prove. Or you're negating something, right? A declarative statement that's a negation. Something you can't prove, so who cares, right? It's Trey's job, right, to provide the evidence. Right off the bat, Matt is saying he can't do it, right? Well, you have to let him, right?
Okay, so why are you not self-existent? All right, self-creation, I'm sorry, an illusion, you got to have somebody ask.
And it's already throwing Trey off a little bit, right? Because he thought Matt was just going to cooperate, right? Let him run his argument. And Matt is refusing, right? And he doesn't know how to deal with the sophist like Matt.
The question, so you're not an illusion, right?
I don't know. I'm saying...
So did Matt just say that he's not an illusion a second ago? And now he's saying that he doesn't know?
You listed there are only four possibilities. And right. The first example that comes to mind is me.
Right. So if you have a problem with the four possibilities, right, then provide another possibility. If you can't, provide a fifth possibility, right? Or maybe remove one of them, show that it's not true. Then you have to grant Trey his premise, right? That's how debates work. If you can't refute it, then you have to accept it.
And I don't know which of those four applies to me or how you can tell.
But so you have to let him talk and then, right, he's going to make the argument.
And why there isn't another one.
Do you think that it's viable that you're an illusion?
So Trey is trying to go through all the possibilities and Matt's just scared.
Don't see how I could be.
Okay, so then that's not a viable option, right?
I don't know, but...
So he said he's not an illusion. He doesn't see how he could be an illusion and then contradicts himself, right? By saying, oh, I don't know, maybe I am an illusion. After he just said he isn't and sees no possibility of how he could be an illusion. And Trey is trying to eliminate these possibilities and continue on with his argument. And Matt's just, a sophist, right? He's contradicting himself. He's being very, very dishonest.
I'm just saying.
What do you mean you don't know? Are you asking a question?
Okay, I'm not.
Are you familiar with?
Holy crap! Can I finish my sentence? You just asked me the question 2 or 3 times now. Yes, I'm familiar with the.
Just 1 second.
I'm familiar with the cogito, which is contingent on the primacy of reason. But your thing says if something exists, so I'm the something.
So it sounds like Matt accepts the cogito, right? I think, therefore I am. So he just granted reason, right?
Only 4 possibilities.
Because you have to grant reason, right? In order to be able to say, I think. I hope that makes sense.
It's an illusion. I don't know whether or not I'm an illusion. I don't think that I am. I don't see any good reason to think that I am, and it may in fact be impossible.
Well, then you're not an illusion.
I don't think that I'm self-created. I don't think that I'm self-existent. And so that leads to number 4, which is created by something that is self-existent. But I pick up a rock.
So clearly Matt knows what the argument is, right? And he's just trying to dominate the conversation instead of letting Trey, on whom the burden of proof was placed in this debate, instead of letting him do what he's supposed to do, right? He's not allowing the guy to present his case.
I don't think the rock's illusion. I don't think the rock is self-created. I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. I mean a pebble. I don't think it's self-existent. And I don't think the rock is created by something that is self-existent. So I reject your assertion that there are only 4 options, that you have exhaustively cataloged the options to explain something's existence. That's the point I was getting to.
Wait, what?
Okay, well,
And I don't think the rock is created by something that is a rock. I don't think the rock's illusion. I don't think the rock is self-created. I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. I mean a pebble. I don't think it's self-existent. And I don't think the rock is created by something that is self-existent. So I reject your assertion.
Yeah, but can you prove that? Can you prove that it's not just about what you think, right? It's what you could demonstrate, right? You're not going to get an argument from Trey on any of these first 3, right, when it comes to the rock. But that doesn't mean he's going to agree with you on this assertion that the rock isn't created by God. That would be God in this case, right? You have to let him make the argument, right? He agrees with the first 3, but not the 4th one. It's not up to you, Matt, right? It's up to the both of you, right? It's about whatever he wants to grant you, whatever you want to grant him, and the things that you don't grant each other, well, you battle it out, you debate, right?
Assertion that there are only 4 options, that you have exhaustively cataloged the options to explain something's existence. That's the point I was getting to.
okay, well,
So you'd have to provide evidence that there are other options. You can't just say like, oh, I don't like the option, I don't like God, right? I don't like that option. So there must be another option. But that's a fallacy.
you won't even allow me to walk through each one of these.
Exactly.
You keep saying I'm interrupting you.
No, sir. I'm okay. When you accuse people in the opening of potentially whining and then being accused of putting words in the mouth, I'm just trying to get clear.
I wish he'd just shut up and let the other guy do what he's supposed to do, right?
I'm not the moderator here. It's not, I won't allow you. I had a specific question about this, and I wanted to get clarity on what we were talking about.
I'm trying to...
Matt always makes himself the arbiter of the debate, right? Because he can't win any of these debates at this level. He can't even engage with the arguments most of the time, right? So it's just all bullshit. He tries to control the conversation.
It's your time. It's your time. You can continue. But you don't have to whine that I'm not letting you do something. I'm trying to get clarity here.
All right, go ahead there, Trey. Sorry about that.
So he says he's trying to get clarity, right? When he already asserted what is true and what isn't true, right? There's no confusion when it comes to Matt. He's not asking any questions. But then he's pretending that he wants clarity, right? He's dishonest.
Okay. So if we could continue on. So everything cannot be an illusion because otherwise there would be no person asking the question, right? Do you agree with that, Matt?
I don't know.
So the way I understand it, right? Illusions happen to people, agents, right? So if there's somebody considering whether or not something is an illusion or experiencing an illusion, right? That agent, that person cannot be an illusion, right? And Matt saying, I don't know, well, then you're conceding the point, right? If you can't argue against the point, then you're conceding the point, right? That's what intellectual honesty necessitates.
You just said you don't think that you are an illusion.
I don't think
Why?
so.
Why?
I don't have any reason to respond to you on this.
So the answer would be, I think, therefore I am, right? I believe Matt accepts reason and the cogito, right? But Matt's saying, no, I don't have to answer your questions, right? I'm not going to let you present your argument. That's what he's saying.
You just switched context, by the way, because the first 3 times you said this, it was if something exists, and now it's everything.
Well, no, if anything exists, and I said, you, the inquirer.
Okay.
Are you an illusion? And if not, why?
I don't know.
Why?
Why?
So after he said he's not, or he has no reason to believe, right, that he is, he's still saying that he doesn't know. Well, of course you know, right? You know you're not, because you think, therefore you are.
Why is that
Why
not
do
a
you
good
doubt
enough
it?
answer? Why is saying I don't know not an acceptable answer for you? Is it because it doesn't lead down the script you want?
Well, no, you said that you don't think you...
So if you don't know whether or not you're an illusion, right, what are you doing debating whether or not Christianity is true? I mean, what?
You are.
I am not convinced that I am an illusion. I'm also not convinced that I'm not an illusion.
Okay. Why would you think that you are not an illusion?
I think...
You don't even want to go there, do you?
Sorry.
So he doesn't have any arguments for the things that he says, right, he believes to be true, or he can't make up his mind, right? Well, why? What evidence, right? What convinced you that you cannot take a position on this, right? That's a basic, fair question, right? If you can't commit after you already did, now you're saying you don't know whether you are or aren't an illusion, well then what's the explanation for that, right? Do you have one? And he's saying, I don't have to answer any of your... This guy's refusing to debate. It's so blatantly obvious. And he does this every single time he gets to a certain level and his opponent allows him, right?
I think...
Wait, no. Don't you dare do this. You don't want to go there.
Why would you think that you are not an illusion?
So the moderator is going to try to intervene here, and Matt's just going to talk over the moderator, right? After he said, I'm not the moderator here. He is. And Ryan, he's a complete beta in this situation, right? Maybe not as much as Trey, but he's an absolute beta, and he's an awful moderator, right? So what I think is going on, if I may, a little bit, right? Matt is somewhat of a, a rock star, I guess, in the atheist community, right? And he brings in the views and whatever, and Ryan himself is probably an atheist too. And it's, we don't want to make Maddie mad because he may not come back to the show, right? This is basically what it is.
I think...
You don't even want to go there, do you?
Sorry. I think...
Wait, no. Don't you dare do this. You don't want to go there. I just pointed out I am neither convinced that I am...
Beta! Dude, take your hand, shove it down your pants, see if you can find a testicle, hopefully two, and act accordingly.
I'm an illusion, and or that I'm not an illusion. You haven't done enough here to describe what an illusion is, how it's possible for me to evaluate this.
Okay.
All I'm saying is I don't know.
Matt doesn't know what illusions are, man. It's like pulling teeth with this fucking guy. He has no clue what an illusion is. He needs Trey, right? And people are getting mad that they're not debating, that Trey isn't debating Christianity when Matt needs an explanation as to what an illusion is, right? And they're mad at Trey. I mean, this just fucking... Wow, the world we live in, it's amazing. It really blows my mind how people can not think like that,
Oh, and if that's not good enough for you, tough. You didn't bring enough ball game.
Okay, well, you're ducking out before we even begin.
Exactly.
I know it's not a rebuttal.
I'm not ducking out, sir. I gave you the honest answer. I'm sorry it doesn't fit with your format.
Honest answer, right? I'm not an illusion. Oh, maybe I'm an illusion. I don't know if I'm an illusion, right? Just... This guy's such a fucking dodger. I mean, and he has the audacity to claim he's honest.
Well, yeah, my format of reasonable inquiry to reality.
Are you an illusion?
No, I'm not, because
How
I'm
do you
asking
know?
the question.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because if I think, therefore I am. That's what the Cogito
but I
was.
think, therefore I am, as I pointed out to you, as Hobbes pointed out, is contingent on the primacy of reason,
Which you granted.
we can't demonstrate.
I asked you for reason at the
Matt says we can't demonstrate reason now, right? But in all these other debates, when asked about how he justifies reason, he says, well, reason exists because, or logic, right? Because I use it, because it works, right? But he can't demonstrate like, what are you talking about?
beginning. You said yes.
No, sir. You asked me to concede the law of non-contradiction, but that is not the sum total of reason or identity.
Oh my God, he is so evasive and dishonest, right? Oh, I didn't grant you all of reason. Well, you granted him reason. And all these laws of logic, you affirm anyway. You always have. So why are you all of a sudden acting like you don't? This guy's so slimy.
Or a excluded middle.
Okay, well,
I'm saying
you deny
I
the
accept.
excluded middle and
No, sir, I don't. I accept.
Right? So he grants him reason. After he said we can't prove reason. Okay, fair enough, but you grant him reason, so nobody needs to prove it to anybody. You believe it exists. It's really that simple.
Accept all of those things, as I've talked about for years.
Okay, then
If you
Right. So why is this a problem? Why is reason a problem all of a sudden, right? Because Matt is shitting in his pants. He has no defeater. He knows what the argument is and has no defeater for it. So it's just sophistry.
wanted to continue on with other examples that you brought up there, Trey. Like I said last time, it's expected that the other person's probably not going to agree with you on certain points, but for the sake of the audience, if you
It's expected that Matt isn't going to agree with you on what? What points? Clearly Matt agrees. There's no disagreement here so far. He's just being dishonest.
want to present your argument and have that back and forth, I don't think we're going to get much further with the "Are you an illusion?"
yeah, because
So Trey is presenting his argument, and Matt is refusing to engage in the argument, and the moderator, who either doesn't have any clue what's going on, or he's just swinging off Matt's nuts, is blaming Trey? What?
Matt doesn't want to go there. He doesn't even want to engage the argument.
Exactly.
This is the worst I've ever seen.
Let's try to move on to your next
Wow,
point.
I'm the worst you've ever seen.
So the moderator is asking him to move to his next point, right? How can he move to his next premise, whatever it may be, when Matt won't even grant him that, reason exists? Or Matt won't even grant him that he's not an illusion. Matt, who seems to believe, I don't know exactly, I think he does, in I think therefore I am, right? All of a sudden doesn't believe in it. And he has this sly smirk on his face because the other guy is getting chastised for Matt's transgressions, right? But have him tell us how, how moral he is, how honest he is, what good of a person he is, and how, you don't need God to be a good person, right? Doesn't mean that, if I may go on a tangent, that just because, well, I'm not going to go there because it's going to sound stupid. Anyway, let's continue.
How well do you think
just
this is
say,
going to
"I don't
go,
know."
Trey, if you keep pointing out that someone who's honestly answering your question and saying, I don't know, because you haven't...
He's just saying things, like, honestly. He's saying, I'm so honest. Look at me. I'm so honest. I am so honest. After he's just outright lying. And it's so obvious to see. But so long as he says he's honest, right? Like the sheep in the comment section, they just eat that shit up. Right? How is it honest to say, A, I'm not an illusion. I have no reason to believe I'm not an illusion. But maybe I'm an illusion. Where's the honesty in that?
answered enough details to give them something. How do you think that's going to go for you?
You didn't say, I don't know. You said, I don't think that I am. And I asked you why, and you won't answer.
I don't think that I'm an illusion because I am not convinced that I'm an illusion. That doesn't mean that I can articulate.
And I'm asking why. Not just because you say so.
Would you let me finish
He just said, I'm not convinced that I am or am not an illusion, right? That doesn't mean I can articulate it, right? So what? I mean, maybe he is rejecting reason, right? Like, what are the arguments that convinced you or keep you confused? The stance that you have, right? How did you come to believe or not believe it? Whatever it is, right? Well, he can't justify it or articulate it because it's bullshit. Because it's not actually what he believes. So what he's saying basically is, I could believe or not believe anything I want and I don't have to justify anything, right? So why are you debating, Matt? Why did you come to debate? Oh, you didn't. This is just a fucking dog and pony show. And the atheists in the comment section are eating it up, thinking that this guy is a great debater. I mean, this is so pathetic.
Was in the middle of saying before you jumped in, that doesn't mean that I can articulate to you why I don't think. I'm not convinced of something. Not being in the state of not being convinced of something does not have a burden of proof.
No, you don't have to have a proof for anything. But if you're
then why do you keep asking me? Then why would you keep asking me why I'm not convinced? I'm not convinced.
He's interested in what got you to this position, what the thought process was. Right? How did you get to believe or not believe the things that you do or don't? How? Right? If you were honest, you'd be able to explain it. This is like basic shit.
There's no burden of proof. There may not be a why. The reason I'm not convinced is because you haven't convinced me that I'm an illusion, and neither has anybody else.
It's just a blind face statement for you then.
It's not. Wow. I'm.
So he's not convinced that he's an illusion, right? Well, then you're not an illusion.
Sorry that you don't seem to grasp this, even though you pretended like you did during your opening. When I say I'm not convinced, that is not a faith position because I'm not asserting that X is true. I'm saying I'm not convinced of something. If you think that there's good reason to be
yeah, he is. He's saying it's true that I'm not convinced, right? I don't know what I am, right? That's Matt's position. He has no clue what he is. That's his position. Now, who thinks that that's actually honest? I don't know what I am, right? But here I am debating whether or not Christianity is true, and I know it isn't, and I can prove it. But I don't even know if I exist or don't, right? I mean, you know.
Convinced that I'm an illusion, you can present that case. I have not been presented with I have not been presented with an evidence-based case to show why I should believe that I'm an illusion.
Okay.
So he never said that you should believe that. This is just pure unadulterated bullshit.
If there is a doubter, then would it be fair to say that there is no everything cannot be an illusion?
If there is a doubter, would it be fair to say that everything?
Because the doubter has to think. In order to think, you've got to be.
See, we've switched from whether or not I'm illusion to whether or not everything is illusion.
No, anything. We can take.
So he's avoiding a question, basic question, right? I think, therefore I am. Do you believe in the cogito, right? Do you? Honest Matt? Of course he does.
You or whatever. Anything essential. If someone was to say everything is an illusion, then I ask them, who is asking the question then?
I'm not saying everything is an illusion at all. I'm answering your question about whether or not I'm convinced that I'm an illusion. I'm not convinced I'm an illusion.
You're not convinced that you're an illusion.
Correct.
No.
So, if you...
No one's trying to convince you of this.
You do not want to affirm your own existence.
I am convinced that I exist.
Then he's not an illusion. Right? I mean, what the fuck?
So you're not an illusion.
I don't know whether or not existence and illusion are mutually exclusive in this context. All I'm saying is...
What the fuck? What context? What would the context be for something being existing and being an illusion at the same time. What would that context be, Matt? I mean, I think we are on planet Earth, you know.
I'm not convinced that I am an illusion. I don't know why this is such a big deal or why it's so difficult, other than it's not what your script's ready for.
You're the difficult one, obviously.
Okay, well, if something is an illusion, what I'm saying is that it's not real. Do you think that you are real?
Well, here's the problem. Your position is, if something exists, there are 4 possible criteria. And the first one is, it's an illusion. And now you're saying...
Is he answering the question?
What is an illusion is not real. Well, if something isn't real, then it doesn't exist. So already your argument, if something exists, has item number 1 being it doesn't exist as one of the options.
It's not real, is what I'm saying. Some people say everything is not real. And I say, well, it must be real if it's questioning its own existence.
What is real that doesn't, or what exists that is not real?
An illusion, Matt.
Well, someone might say it's like a dream or illusion or something that's not capable of. It's not. I'm not saying it's not nothing, because it's impossible to conceive of nothing. Because the idea of...
So Matt is saying that something that's an illusion doesn't exist. Well, yeah, the thing that's the content of the illusion, the thing that's the illusion itself, doesn't actually exist, but the illusion does exist, right? It exists. So this thing exists in the mind, if you will, right? In that sense. So it's not a physical object in the real world, if you will, but it exists in the mind. It's an illusion. So it has existence, right? It does exist.
Nothing is something. So how about this? How about
I don't see how that's relevant. Your position...
So it's not a contradiction, right? It's just different categories of being, which is the whole point, I think, when it comes to Trey's argument, whatever it may be.
Your position here is, if something exists, there are 4 possible reasons. Number 1 is, it's an illusion. Well...
Reasons? I would say probably categories, right?
You just defined it's an illusion as not real. And so that means that your first thing is, if something exists, one possibility is, it's not real. To me...
Essentially. And that's why I say it's not viable.
To me, if something's not real, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So what it sounds like Matt is saying is that illusions don't exist, right? He's not really saying that. He doesn't actually believe that, because it's ridiculous. He already admitted that they do. But I think this is the logical conclusion of this insanity that is Matt Dillahunty, right? This is the price he has to pay for his sophistry, right? He's saying illusions don't exist. Because again, Trey isn't talking about... he's talking about a thing existing in the mind as an illusion, right? Not in the real world, so to speak. But it does exist. And Matt is saying that illusions don't exist. That's the only way you could interpret that, I think. Which doesn't make any sense because, well, if illusions don't exist, Matt, then you should be convinced that you're not an illusion. Especially since you already said that you exist, right? So Matt is the logical conclusion of this fake worldview that Matt is trying to present here, right? This is just where sophistry gets you, right? Is that illusions don't exist, right? But Matt does exist. Illusions don't exist. But he doesn't know if he's an illusion or not, right? Even though illusions don't exist and he does, right? Does that make any sense to you?
Would affirm that you exist.
Are you in agreement? Just out of curiosity.
Right, so so that they could move on, so that Trey could unpack his argument, right? He's asking Matt, do you exist, right? And Matt won't even answer that question, right? The great, amazing atheist debater, right? And it's just going to drag on like that, and Trey's just going to becomes so exasperated, he'll just ask the moderator to go into Q&A and debate a bitch boy that Ryan is. No offense, man. Like, but grow a fucking pair of balls, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ryan's just gonna submit and follow what either one of these guys tells him, right? Because he's the moderator. Oh, what a shit show. Matt Dillahunty is an absolute fucking clown. I mean, and it's so sad and at the same time fascinating that people think that he's like some kind of great debater and that he did so well here and Trey was just so rude. I mean, we seriously live in fucking clown world where everything's upside down. That's all I gotta say.